Hi.
Afternoon, haven't it? I think.
How's
How are
it
you?
going? Oh, this is weird. I've never done this before.
Oh, technology, mind blown. Can you see me and everything? Hear me?
Yeah, all good.
Cool. How are you?
Oh,
Generally, firstly,
sorry, say that again.
how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Yeah.
Great. How's it all been going?
It's been a time, hasn't it? To be fair,
Yeah.
but we're getting there. Kind of like because I'm in Leicester, like lockdowns slowly been lifted, so we're kind of a bit more
Oh,
freedom now.
yeah, because God, you guys
Mm.
went back into it, didn't you?
Yeah, so we're kind of been longer till
Yeah.
yesterday, but all's good. All's good.
Good. And have you had some good chats with people this morning?
Yeah, it's been fun. I mean, I can't say I don't know. I don't tend to like ever go live or anything, so it's kind of like a first for me as well. Everyone else like,
Yeah.
so that's kind of it's good though. It's been good fun. I've not checked if
Good.
anyone's donated yet, but if people do, there's a link on the bio. If anyone's watching and donating, cool. That's why
Do
we're
it.
here. That's why we're here.
Donate.
But yeah, I've got
So it's your birthday coming up,
some
is it?
Sunday, so
Oh, happy birthday for Sunday.
I thank you all. It's crazy how like this year's gone. Like now it's all like. Because we were all talking obviously the other day that it was 6 months since obviously Amélie closed. Like what?
God. It's mad, isn't it?
Where the time goes.
I know. I mean, God, it's funny to think like if finishing that show, knowing what we know now, like if I
Yeah,
mean, just how much harder that would have been. The final few
yeah,
performances would have been, yeah, I think too hard to even get through.
yeah.
So maybe a good thing that we didn't know what was ahead.
That's very true. I've got loads of questions for you, but
Mm.
I don't know if you can read the chat. There might be more on there as well.
Oh yeah.
But I'll keep updated through, isn't it? But yeah, generally, first question is how did you first get into acting? So that's kind of being a musician.
So I am from a very musical family. I've got my parents both musicians, and my brother and sister. My sister is a violinist, and my brother went to choir school. So yeah, just music runs through the family, and I think I played the cello obviously, and
Yeah,
always found the classical music world just a little bit too formal and a little bit restrictive and suffocating sometimes. And my dad did put on musical courses in the Easter holidays, putting on musicals. So that's where I kind of really um, found like my people and
yeah,
always had a good time. So yeah.
amazing. I guess like how did it? When did the kind of did it more the musician first, or was it the acting kind of first?
So yeah, I guess music first in a way. I studied cello throughout school and I did all my grades and went to the academy for my lessons and then I finished school. Well, I was kind of in the sixth form and at that point where I had to decide whether I wanted to audition for music college. And I think that was the assumption that people just assumed that I would probably just go down that route.
Yeah,
But then I was like looking into courses and because I'd done, I did A-level drama as well and GCSE and as I say, like that's where I kind of really felt like I fitted better. So I
yeah,
was looking into I was just like looking on one of those search engines, probably quite primitive when I was at school, for music theatre courses because I never really saw myself going into musicals as such, but I loved the kind of more devised based yeah, like at GCSE and A-level drama it was always the ones that we were creating the theatre ourselves and doing the storytelling ourselves that I particularly loved, and so I thought if there was something that could combine the music and the theatre and do a more devised based course, and I found this course at Breton that was a music theatre course and all the things I wanted it to be. So I
yeah,
just auditioned and it was the only place I applied for and I got in and just thought, why not? And
yeah.
so yeah, it's good.
I guess kind of like more recently, obviously like Amelie and Once and all that. It's kind of you've been able to like combine it. Is that kind of more of a challenge kind of rather than just doing the one? you got to do both at the same time. Kind of
Yeah,
to me that like blows my mind. Like,
yeah, well, it's kind of so a lot of the work that I've done since graduating, so that's
yeah,
13 years ago now, has been more Act Muso
yeah,
stuff. I I started working with Les Enfants Terribles theatre company that kind of it's all very kind of physical storytelling and quite yeah, kind of clowning and very dark, kind of um,
yeah,
like Tim Burton-esque type
yeah,
theatre. And they would just, it would kind of be part of the storytelling, like just throw in an instrument. And I had like a little piano that I played in one of the first shows that I did with them. So it was kind of storytelling through playing instruments. So that was kind of how I started Act Muso stuff. And then quite early on, I did the Oliver at the Watermill, which was, I suppose, the first like full blown Act Muso job I did, where we did have to learn the whole score.
yeah,
The Watermill is quite renowned for like, not simplifying the music in any way. It is very much like everyone does all the bits.
yeah,
So that was my first time of having to learn that much music, and but I think because it's just my background, it's kind of my comfort zone. Like the cello has
yeah,
always been my voice. So learning a score and putting it like all together is kind of it's of course it sometimes feels like too much of a massive undertaking to learn that amount of music and really commit it to memory.
yeah,
Can feel quite overwhelming, but in terms of actually using the instruments as the storytelling devices, that's just very much my
yeah,
background and
norm kind
what
of,
I
yeah,
believe the best theatre can often be.
yeah. And I guess kind of, I mean, like you say, the kind of acting musician shows. Is it a more like stringent rehearsal process? Because obviously you've got to you play the music as well, rather than if you're just acting, then you've not got to learn that on top of it, kind of thing. Is it kind of a more kind of heavier process to
Yeah, I mean,
get through?
I think the time that we have to rehearse is, I mean, it's generally just never feels like enough. And I have done shows where it hasn't been Act Muso, and you're like, oh my God, 5 week rehearsals process, and there are moments where twiddling your thumbs a little
Yeah,
bit
yeah,
because time feels like such a luxury. But in an Act Muso job, you never have enough time. Like no, from the first week is generally, in my experience, often like the first week will be sat round with the music stands, like just playing through the music, and everyone just like,
yeah,
how are we
yeah,
gonna learn this? I mean, at the first couple of days, it's more like, how are we even gonna play this? Like,
yeah,
let alone put it in our heads and sing and act and
yeah,
dance
all that.
all at the same time. So yeah, it's always quite, but that's why I love Act Muso work, because it's like such a leveler for everyone is equally kind of stressing out at the beginning, not knowing how we're going to manage it. And so like any kind of ego or like
Yeah,
starry diva behavior, just like it just is straight out the window, and everyone's in
yeah,
the same position, everyone's in the same boat. And especially when you work at the watermill or somewhere like that, you're all living on site as well, so the support of, you have the kind of 10 till 6-ish rehearsal day where you're just like getting through it, and then in the evening people just hang out with a bottle of wine and all play the songs from the show or just jam other stuff. But it's like such a brilliant bonding exercise, and just yeah, the support is always really wonderful and fun, and you get through it together.
yeah. And I guess like almost another challenge would be like something sort of a couple of times Amélie, like when there's like somebody off, then you've got to kind of, especially in an acting musician show, do you have to? How easy is that to negotiate kind of
Kind of
getting the music right?
reorchestrate it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we had that a few times on Amelie, and it was actually my role, as I can't even remember what the term was, but I had to be the one in charge of like
yeah,
musically if someone went off, how to kind of cover all the parts. And I mean, again, it just makes you feel really proud of the company because you luckily by the point that anyone had gone off, we knew that show so
Yeah,
well because
definitely.
at the Watermill there weren't any understudies. So, we kind of we know that score, we know each other's parts pretty well by the time that we were on the road with it. So then when it came to yeah, people going off, you just like together be like, oh, Fuenla's got that violin line there.
Mm,
Ollie, do you mind covering it in the wings? No, great, got it.
mm,
Okay, Jez, I'll play his solo at that point. If someone can move the piano, it's just like knowing a show so inside out, but realizing how one tiny, one piece come out of
yeah,
the whole thing, and just it can kind of open up completely. But the talent of the cast and the great relationships we had with each other just meant that wait, so I'm just seeing, I remember seeing
yeah,
Kate go off, and so it caught my eye because I thought she said something about
yeah,
pants. Like,
yeah.
oh God, what was that? Yeah, no, I think sometimes I was just like, because I just have the cello so permanently attached to
Yeah,
me
yeah.
that, especially because it was my job to cover all the, like, make sure all the parts were covered, there were some bits that I'd be on stage and like, ah, shit, I didn't
Yeah,
get someone to cover that bit. Okay, I'm just gonna have to play it, and
yeah.
somehow it would kind of come out. But yeah, some slightly scary moments, but yeah, all good.
Amazing. And like, obviously, with that show, you kind of like say you kind of did it at the Watermill, then it went on tour, then it came to like London. Kind of did it kind of evolve kind of over that time, kind of from how the audiences were and all the kind of, like you say, there wasn't understudies and that. Does that make you kind of
Yeah,
excited
yeah,
for the
all
next
the
season?
various incarnations. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it did change a lot. I think in lots of ways, that's why it kind of, sometimes changes are what keep it fresh and alive,
yeah,
and keep us all sane. So
yeah,
the Watermill was a very specific time where we were all getting to know each other, and we were all so protective over our piece that we'd created. But it was quite a different cast. Obviously, we had Chris as Nino, we had Sean Ed, who was pregnant, so then didn't come on tour with us, and so it was, yeah, it was kind of it was this smaller version of the show. It was very, I don't know, it was quite an intense experience, and we'd all really bonded through some quite stressful times as well, like
yeah,
getting
yeah,
the show up and being in, as much as the Watermill is one of my absolute favorite places and so gorgeous and such an amazing place to work. It's also, the rehearsal room is very small,
yeah,
so you're kind of trying to, just sometimes with like all the noise and all the people and trying to come up with this really special piece, sometimes we just get a little bit full on.
yeah,
So yeah, that was Watermill, and then we went on to, and then we had, oh, that's it. So we'd only been performing maybe a week until then we had to re-rehearse the show for the tour. So we were doing the show with Chris as Nino in the evenings, and then rehearsing in Danny Mac in the day,
yeah,
and the understudies, and Sophie Crawford came in to play Shauna's part. So, and we were reworking it for a very different set, and some changes, some different harmonies, some different orchestration. Bits were cut in
yeah,
and out, and just the logistics, the which door we came out of, and the plot just changed quite a lot. So it was weird rehearsing that and then going back and doing the other version of the show in the evening, and we were
yeah,
rehearsing this massive barn that was freezing cold. So again, it was just like kind of never ending. I mean, we always joke that Amélie was the show that's had the most techs
yeah,
ever, because our technical rehearsals, they always are, because like you know the show, like it's
yeah,
the lighting and everything is so precise.
yeah, yeah,
So therefore, because we've been to so many incarnations through it, the technical rehearsals are always so long and really kind of detailed, and we've had to do it time and time and time again. So yeah, so tour took on a different shape, and obviously being on the road with it, and
yeah,
different spaces, different theatres, people. we'd always be surprised, each week the ticket sales would often start quite small, but by the end of the week, like people
Yeah,
absolutely loved that show.
yeah, yeah,
You go somewhere where I think people would assume that wouldn't be their cup of tea, and then go see it, like pulled dragged along, go see it, and then have to say at stage door to say how much it really changed their life, and that they're going to bring their whole family to it at the weekend. And it was really special seeing how many lives were really touched by it, and often by people that really weren't expecting it to be their cup of tea.
yeah, yeah.
um and then Christmas at the other palace to finish off the that year with being in town, and it being received so well, and big audiences. And yeah, it's just, yeah, it's very, very special job.
Yeah, and I guess kind of it's nice to end it on the kind of the cast recording as well, since you've got kind of the
Yeah,
permanent kind of reminders there.
yeah, I mean, God, again, so lucky that we got in with that just in time. And
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
yeah,
so proud of that recording, because it's all in a day, all of us singing and playing. I think it's one of, I know obviously I'm going to be biased, but I think the sound is just, it's so brilliant to think that we were just in a setup where we all had mics on our instruments and our voices. And we did it exactly how we do in the show, like doing it all together. Whereas I'm sure a lot of cast recordings, it's so isolated, it takes a few days, people do their parts separately, and it's like really kind of, yeah, like it's in a space where it can all be very messed with so that it's
yeah,
perfect. Whereas I think we did it quite organically and in such a short time, and it does feel like a really good representation of what the show was.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's nice from Amy. Thank you, Amy.
I mean, we've got to talk about the cat, obviously, because the cat's everyone's highlight.
Oh,
The
the
cat, the cat. Oh,
cat.
I mean, obviously,
What is it? My
it's
my cat
infamous,
noise.
infamous. It's infamous every time we talk about cast recording.
That's so funny. I mean, it was passed to me by Chris. I think it's just me and Chris that did the cat noise. He definitely did it through um well, he would have done it originally, and then did he do it on tour? Maybe. Oh, yeah, no, he must have done it on tour. His cat noise was very good, but then I took it over at the other
Mm-hmm.
palace, and it was a bit hit or miss, but thankfully, because I only had one shot at it at the cast recording, and thankfully
Okay,
it came out fairly all right that time.
amazing. People are okay. You can switch your career
Switch your career
to
to sound effects, yeah. God, yeah, maybe that's the future, isn't it? I don't know. Is that even the future? Who bloody
hopefully not.
knows?
Hopefully not. obviously, obviously, recently, obviously released the single Queenie.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of how's that kind of project come around? And
So, so Anna, I live in St Leonard's on Sea, um, and I moved here about just over a year ago. And I think back to that choice. It was actually, we were at the watermill, and yeah, it's a tiny little flat. I made the decision to move from London, and managed to buy a little flat at the seaside. And I found out at the watermill when we just started Amélie rehearsals that I'd got it. So, it was all kind of
yeah,
tied up with that big change for me. And so grateful that I did, because obviously last year being on tour, I wasn't here much. But then this year, everything that's happened,
yeah,
to be in lockdown by the seaside has been just so wonderful.
yeah,
Um, so Anna, I met in 2007 when I just finished at Bretton Hall. I played the cello for a drama centre show, and she'd trained as an actress at drama centre. So we met then, but we didn't really get to know each other that well at that point. And then I guess it would have been last summer, I bumped into her here,
mm-hmm.
and she'd moved down to the coast about a year before that. And so we kind of, we met again and rekindled a relationship that hadn't even really existed in London, but we became really close and she was pregnant, so she has had her baby since that point. And again, just both of us in this state of like slight precarious like jobs. What is the future gonna look like? Am I gonna, yeah, is theatre gonna be something that I can keep my career as, but also aside from that, just having a creative project. She's a writer as well. She writes scripts, and she's a brilliant singer, and she'd done like open mic nights and stuff in the area. So we just thought, let's just try writing together and it be something that we can, satisfy our creativity together by the seaside. And for her as a new mom, and all the weird things that we've been experiencing recently, and this different shape of life seems like quite a good starting point to write some songs on. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's good
Yeah.
fun.
Amazing. I'm not being biased, but it's brilliant. So
Ah, thank you.
I hope there's more. I hope there's more coming.
Yeah, I think that, well, there definitely
Hopefully.
will be. We're writing. So that first song, I think it's gonna, well, the songs that we've written recently that we're writing at the moment, they're a
Yeah.
bit more poppy and they're a bit more upbeat and they're a bit more like, yeah, just a bit funkier, and um all trying to have quite empowering messages and
Yeah.
just fun. And I think maybe it's, especially with singer-songwriter stuff and stuff I've done in the past and with the cello, often it can become a quite melancholy. And our first single is a bit, it is quite dark, it's quite melancholy. But I think because of everything, now we're just writing songs that might bring joy and fun and, you know, slight escapism from the reality that we find ourselves in.
Yeah, yeah. Kind of to wrap it up, what would be like the best advice you'd give to? I know it's difficult right now because obviously the world's chaos, isn't it? But
Yeah.
what kind of the best advice you'd give to someone who wanted to get into music or acting?
God, it's I'd say with any advice, you just have to stay strong with who you think you are, what you think you can bring to the world, and try and like the way that I got into the industry was quite different, I think, to other people, because I didn't come out of drama school with an agent. I very much had to find things off my own back, and I had a few lucky breaks, but I think because I've got the cello, because I did like a device-based course, maybe I came out of that kind of institution as a slightly different performer than um, like when people go the more normal, or what am I trying to say? Like sometimes if you're just going, like if you're just ticking boxes,
Yeah,
maybe things are a bit harder. Whereas if you stay true to yourself and you follow your own passions and your own talents, and like if you can be as self-sufficient as possible, I think that's always incredibly valuable and important. And if you can do things that make you happy that aren't reliant on other people giving you jobs, then you're
yeah,
gonna put yourself in good stead, because especially with the future, like you say, it's hard to know where we're gonna go from here. But um, if you enjoy writing, or if you enjoy, you know, just making music for your
yeah,
own joy,
yeah,
um, then that's always really vital. And we've just all got to make sure that every day we fill it with things that we love. And if you're trying to go into the industry just with like just thinking every audition holds your happiness, if you get that job, then it's going to be a harder place. Whereas if you feel that, oh, I wrote something wonderful today, or I got together with some friends and we played some music, and then I'm going to an audition later, but if I get it or not, it doesn't really matter. I've still like fulfilled
yeah, yeah.
something myself. I think that's always going to be helpful.
Amazing. Well, thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Not being
Thanks for
biased,
having
but
me.
you already know I think you're brilliant. So
Thanks so much, and thanks for all the support. You've been so wonderful over the last year and a bit, and yeah, we've all really appreciated it on Amélie.
hopefully
Seeing
we'll.
your face and knowing that you've been right
Yeah,
behind us, it's been
yeah.
lovely.
Just one of them shows that kind of thing. I've got like, you don't want to see my wall because I've got like a whole wall behind me. But it's basically,
Ah,
you want it
yay!
somewhere. But there you go. Kind of.
Amazing. I
Yeah.
am drinking from my Amélie mug.
Yeah, it's kind of just so crazy. I have the connections, other people on here that I still talk to, obviously, from the show. And it's one of them. It's one of them shows
Oh,
that kind of brought people together, I think.
yeah.
So thank you.
Thanks so much, and yeah, well done for doing this. Hope you raise
Thank
some
you.
money and have a lovely birthday as well at the weekend.
Thank you very much. I will hopefully catch you again on stage soon,
Oh,
somewhere,
fingers crossed.
hopefully. Hopefully. But yeah, thank you for joining.
Thank
And I'll catch you
you,
soon.
and thanks everyone at home as well.
Thank
Sending
you.
lots of love.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.
Bye. Bye.